Hello, dear ones, it's Salus. I am of the stars, and here is part 4 of Martian Bacterial Colonists of Earth. So this is about Martian history, the ancient history of Mars. I heard that from Mars, they were transported by other people, I think they mean other species, from Mars to their spaceships. And their spaceships, as far as I can tell, were meteorites that were on trajectory to maybe the moon first and then to Earth. And so they speak of the moon as their spaceship. And so what that might mean, if that's true, is that they were a sentient species before the moon was formed, or before the moon became a satellite of Earth. I'll have to look that up and see how long ago that was. But I'm getting a very long forever feeling about this race of beings right now. Were they really once bipedal in form, or is it just that they've been inhabiting our space stations for so long that there's been a crossing over of some portions of the social memory complex? I mentioned before that territorial aggression may have crossed over from them to us, as in the bonobos. They may have assisted in this by making an adjustment in early simians so that they became more aggressive, like the chimpanzees from whom we derive, as I understand it. So either through genetic engineering or else simply through social memory complex crossover, we became early on more territorially aggressive. I can't blame our sexual aggressiveness. Well, maybe I could. I was going to say not on them because they reproduce asexually. But it could be that sexual aggressiveness would aid them because it would mean greater communication between substations, perhaps with a chance to install new genetic modulations through germ exchange. So now this other one, the topic of bipedal favoritism. Could it be just that they became accustomed to walking us and talking us, to the point where they began to identify as a social memory complex with the bipedalness of us? I mean, to them, it seems that we're like giant robots doing what they ask most of the time. I remember in particular, I was in a motel room. I wrote this up separately, but I was in a motel room long ago, a couple years ago. And right before I drifted off to sleep, I heard this little voice saying, open your mouth, right? And I determined not to open it. And so then when I woke up, my mouth was wide open, which they waited until I was asleep, and then spoke to my subconscious mind. And so what I think that was an attempt to send bacterial messengers out of my mouth and into the environment there for a chance for friendship overtures and social exchange. Here's another thing that happened along those lines. I was at church yesterday, right? And where I was sitting at the very back of the church, a family came and sat, and the youngest child there started coughing and didn't stop. It was just softly coughing throughout the service, sending, who knows, viruses and bacteria out into the air around me, right? And so I was trying not to breathe much not to inhale them. And softly I heard this little voice inside say, breathe in, breathe in. And I was just continuing with my low breathing mode. And then I heard the voice say, why didn't it work? They say that when there's a die-off of like a substation group, because there are probably quite a few other substations besides human. But anyway, when there's a die-off, like when that great meteorite struck Earth and there was a big dust cloud and most every species just became extinct, that kind of a die-off, that they go dormant for a while, and that their species is seeded with enough possibilities to take advantage of whatever situation ensues. Also, many of the ascensioneers have gone to diet of sunlight or just a very extremely simple diet, mostly, say, not with sugar, with a lot of water and a lot of hydration, maybe chlorophyll and water. And that kind of a diet, insofar as it can be pursued individually, will eliminate the crosstalk of the telepathic crosstalk of the Martian colonists in your particular substation. I came across the word vector. It's a font name that they're referring to some entity, maybe one of themselves, who has the facility to distort light waves sideways, like as vectors, so that they come in at an angle instead of going the way that they would go into the axiotonal lines of light and into the as vitality spicules into the splenic chakra, like that. So, but this distortion, as I understand it, takes place not lower down, but at the crown of the head. There's a kind of a vector effect. May the light come in sideways, I believe is the term. And what that creates is human illness, especially headache. So we need to say in reply to that, this affirmation, Spirited Team, may the light come in the optimum way for the all-through free will. That's an activation of light to return the functioning of the light through the crown chakra to the proper manner. Vector, an interesting word because Thoth speaks of it in the Emerald Tablets. He speaks of those fearsome beings that use vectors against us if we try to escape, and he speaks of the power of the circle and the vortex and like that. So different sorts of energy. Our favorite energy is vortical motion compared to the angular motion of many other beings, especially on the astral plane in the fourth dimension. So I don't know, what can be done with this issue of vectors, light vectors, and like what do you call it? It's like deflection of the light waves, so that they create a malaise, a physical malaise. Others wiser than I will no doubt come up with that solution.